Hello, today we're going to talk about linear functions equations. The first thing we're going to talk about is the slope formula. So slope is rise over run. It's also called the rate of change. Alright, so it's just how quickly something changes from one point to the next. The slope formula is sometimes written as delta y over delta x. This means the change in y over the change in x. It's also written as y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So how this works is take 2 points, take 1, 2, and 8, 3. Let me put 8, 3 right here. So how I do this when I have points is I label one of them 1 and the other one 2. Then I label whether they're x or y. So the first one's always the x, the second one's always the y. Now the 1 and the 2, if I label this one 1, I put the 1 as my subscript. Here I'll put the 2 as my subscript. Now I just need to plug everything in to my formula. So 3 minus 2 over 8 minus 1. So I get 1 over 7. So my rate of change or my slope is 1 over 7. All right. The other thing we're going to talk about is there's two forms that we usually use. So there's slope-intercept form, which is y equals mx plus b. This is the most popular form because it's the one you graph out of, right? But there is another one that we need for this, and it's called the point slope form. The point slope form is y minus y1 equals slope x minus x1. So if I tell you the slope is 5 and it goes through the point 1, 2. Right. How I put this in to the point slope form is my y stays the same. That's my x, that's my y. The y from my point goes for the y1. The slope goes in for your m. And then your 1 goes in for your x subscript 1. And that's point slope form. Now if you want to switch it over to slope-intercept form, you just simplify it all down. So y equals 5x minus 3. So that's your slope-intercept form for this information, and that's your point slope form for that information. All right, here's two examples. So the first one is I want to know what the point slope form is of this. So I write out my point slope form. All right, and now I put everything where it needs to be. So there's my x and that's my y. My first y stays the same. I plug in my y here, plug in my slope, and there you go. That is my point slope form. And now if I want to switch it to slope-intercept form, so let's call this A, we'll call it B, is slope-intercept form. I just simplify it down, basically. Distribute the 3. Oops, wrong way. So I get y equals 3x plus 1. This is my slope-intercept form. My point slope form is right there. All right, now let's go over here. Well, I'll call that SI, and this is PS. So let's come over here to our, we're going to find slope. So I label this 1 and 2, x, y, x, and y. All right, if I label this one 2 and that one 1, it's fine. It all works out the same. So then I write my subscript, and then I plug everything into my slope formula. So 3 minus a negative 3 over negative 4 minus 2. All right, so minus a negative 3 makes that positive 3. That negative, these two negatives here just mean change the sign. If you think of it that way, then make this a lot easier. So then here you get negative 6, so you get 6 over negative 6, which is negative 1. All right, here's 2 more examples. So here we're going to find the slope-intercept form, and we're going to find the slope-intercept form here also. It's just they give you different information for both of them. So here, slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b, which is right here. This is your slope, and this is your y-intercept. So it already gives me my slope, so I can go ahead and plug that in. All right, now all I have to find is my y-intercept. To find my y-intercept, I have to plug in my point, just like I did for the point slope form. That's all I have to do. I'm going to plug it in, and I'm going to solve for the b. So 3 is my y, negative 2 is my x. All I did was take these and plug them into the x and the y values. Now I solve. So 3 equals negative 4 times negative 2 is 8. So b equals negative 5. So the slope-intercept form of this is y equals, my slope is negative 4x minus 5. So all I'm really looking for here is what the y-intercept is. Now over here, I want the slope-intercept form of these two. Now it says x-intercept. If I have an x-intercept, what does that make my y if I have an x-intercept? Well, it makes it 0. My y-intercept, so if I have a y-intercept, if I have a line that crosses at the y, where does that have to be on the x? 0. So this is really asking if you understand that whenever you have a y-intercept, your x is going to be 0. Whenever you have an x-intercept, your y is going to be 0. So now I have 2 points, slope-intercept form. So the first thing I have to do is find the slope. I'll call that 1, I'll call that 2, xy, xy, 1, 1, 2, 2. I'm going to switch my colors up. So slope equals 4 minus 0 over 0 minus a negative 2. And what did I say? That right there means change the sign. So if this is a negative 2, it becomes positive 2. So 4 over 2 gives me 2. So now I have my slope, but what do we have to find over here? We had to find the y-intercept. And we have the same information that we had over here. So now I have my slope and a point. I can pick whichever one I want. I'm going to take this point right here. All right? So the same thing I did here where I just plugged in the point, I'm going to do here. Only thing difference between these two is I had to do an extra step of finding the slope. So now I plug it in, so y equals, plug in my slope. Now I plug in the point that I chose. I chose that point because 0 is the x. When 0 is your x, you get rid of it. So 4 equals b. So y equals 2x plus 4. Now, of course, the simple way to do it is you already know your y-intercept is 0, 4, but I'm just showing you how to plug it in just because that's what you have to do most of the time. It already gave it to you. You could honestly skip that step, but practice it just to make sure. All right, and here's the last one. This is more a literal equation than anything else, so I'm just going to solve for the y. If you remember what a literal equation is, you solve for letters and not actual numbers. So I want to solve for the y here because I want it in my slope-intercept form. So I'm going to subtract the ax and the c to the other side. So I get by minus ax minus the c. Now I have to get rid of the coefficient in front, which is a b, so y equals negative ax c over b. All right, this has been linear function equations. Hope it helped. Good luck.